Hello everyone. In this short tutorial, I'm going to explain how to use Excel pivot table feature to analyze customer historical transaction data. And this data set is the same data set as we used for the assignment, so you can download this data set from the assignment page. In this data set, we have the information of each transaction. So each row is associated with one transaction history. For example, in this row, we have the information of the first transaction. In this transaction, customer number 1 purchased Florida's natural orange juice, and at that time the price was $2.98, and this customer purchased 3 units of Florida's natural, and the total expense in this transaction was $8.98, which is the same as $2.98 times the number of units sold. And in the same manner, you can interpret the other transactions in the data. And pivot table feature allows us to summarize the entire histories in the data set. So for example, we can answer this kind of questions through pivot table. What was the average price of the juice brand in this data set? And what was the sales of each juice brand in this data set? And then you can answer those questions for the entire customers in the data or specific customers only. So I'm going to explain how to answer such questions through the pivot table feature. Alright, let's get started. Using pivot table is very simple. You just need to go to the Insert tab, and then you can find the pivot table button, and then you can just simply click this. Just one requirement is that you need to select one of non-empty cell. Non-empty cell means a cell with a certain data. So click any cell with the data, and then click this pivot table button. You can see this pop-up window. And this pop-up window, you can set the range of the data in your spreadsheet, and you can set the worksheet where to place the pivot table. Usually, we use a new worksheet for the pivot table, so just set it as it is. And Microsoft Excel automatically detects the data range. So that's why you need to select one of the non-empty cells. Okay? So what you have to do is just to click this OK button. Then you can see a new spreadsheet. Here you may find a space for the pivot table, and there's extra pane for setting up your own pivot table. This pane consists of 5 components. The first one is the field name, which contains the variables or the columns in the original data set. And there are 4 sections. One is filters, the second one is columns, and the third one is rows, and the fourth one is values. They determine the shape of the table. Columns determine which component will be presented in columns of your pivot table. In the rows, you can set up which component will be presented in each row. And you can set up the values for the question you want to answer. First, let's answer to this question. What was the average price in all of the transactions? To do so, we need to put price into the values. Then you can see this number, which is the sum of the price in the entire transactions. This is not what we want to have. We want to have the average instead of the sum of the price. So we need to change the summary metric of the price. To do so, click this I button in the values section. And if you are using Microsoft Windows, then you can see a small triangular button instead of this I button. And click this I button. you can find some other summary metrics. We want to get the average price, so click this average and click OK. Then you can see we have the average of price of the entire transactions instead of the sum of the price. Alright, then let's answer the same question in more granular level. So for example, what is the average price of all of the transactions for each brand? To do so, we need to specify brand name into columns or rows, whatever is fine. Let me put the brand name into columns. Then we have an extended table like this. So the average price of Florida's Natural was $2.9 in the entire transactions, and private brand, it was $2.2 in the entire transactions. Simply Orange, it is about $4 in the entire transactions, and Tropicana, it was $3.6 in the entire transactions. And we have another column here, which is named Grand Total. It means that across all of the brands, the average price was $3.13. And now, let's try to answer the same question for each specific customer. To do so, we are going to use this filter section. So place customer ID variable into filter section, and now you have additional cells for filtering the customer. By default, all of customers are selected, but you can change the selection of the customers. If you want to see the average price only for the first customer, you can deselect everybody and then select the first customer only and close this pop-up window. Now you have the average price of the brand only in the first customer's transactions in the data. This customer never purchased the private brand, so the private brand is not included in this table. And Florida's Natural's average price in the first customer's transaction was $2.8. Simply Orange, it was $3.92, and Tropicana, it was $3.42. And Grand Total column indicates the average price across all of those brands. It was $3.48 in the first customer's transactions. So that's the pivot table feature, and then you can utilize this feature to answer various summarization questions for customer transaction data. Okay, I hope this would help your better understanding for pivot table feature.